Hello and welcome to another EnsoVN gaming video, and this time we'll be looking at the top 10 Clash characters of One Piece Treasure Cruise. This is kind of like a version 2 of the top 10 raid bosses from last year, which kind of snuck up on me. I can't actually believe it's actually been a year since I made that video, but I'm going to call it Clashes this time since that's actually the official name, but you know, I'm so used to calling it raid bosses since it's such a common term we use in the OPTC community. Clashes used to be the best way to get free to play characters, but they kind of share that spot with Colosseum units as well as Invasion units probably being stronger than all raids and Colosseums, as well as us getting treasure map units in the future that will rival even Invasion units. That said, there are still many Clash characters that are very powerful and worth spending your gems on farming. I'll only be including original versions of any Clash, so if there is a Neo version it won't be on the list, but I will mention them if they're currently on global, since this list only covers units currently available on the global version of the game as usual. As usual, I'll be ranking these characters on their captain abilities, specials and stats, as well as their versatility, if they can be used in multiple teams or if they're only just stuck in one class. So with all that said, let's get started. At number 10 we have Kuma, who is a strength cerebral powerhouse. He has a very good 3090 HP, a very strong 1435 attack and a pretty meh 90 RCV. His captain ability is pretty decent, boosting the attack and HP of cerebral characters by ×2 and dealing 5 times the damage he received the previous turn, ×5 at the end of each turn. ×2 captains are kind of out of the meta right now because, while obviously you're very tanky, you don't normally do enough damage to kill any of the stronger bosses before they just outright kill you. And the reflection damage is nice, but it's not earth shattering. What puts him on this list is his special, which changes RCB, TND, empty, block and bomb orbs into matching orbs, and then boosts the power of orbs by 1.75 times for 1 turn. This is a pretty sweet orb manipulation, getting rid of anything that isn't a coloured orb into a matching orb, and then the orb boost itself is still very high in today's standards. Pairing him up with a Colosseum Kid or a story mode Frankie can give you full matching orbs with the boost in pretty much any team. So overall he's really strong, but what kind of lowers him on the list now in my opinion is that most of the time you will already have an orb booster that is of the class that you're using, so if it isn't a cerebral or powerhouse team you're going to use an orb boost that will also get the attack boost from your captains. Like, it really is really easy right now to get an orb booster for your team that matches the class, such as Raid Bellamy and Raid Virgo. But what puts Kuma above those obviously is the orb manipulation, but sometimes that isn't necessary, which is why he is lower on this list. Still a very strong or well-rounded unit, but orb boosting is very common right now in the game. At number 9 we have Magellan, who is an int striker shooter, which is pretty nice for Blackbeard teams since he fulfills 2 class requirements, but probably won't be used into later teams since his special isn't really great for normal teams, so you'd only really use him in early on Blackbeard teams as a beat stick. He has pretty well rounded stats with 2605 HP, 1316 attack and 207 RCV. His captain ability meets in the middle between ×2 and 2.5 times captains, boosting the attack of int characters by 2.25 times and their HP by 1.5 times, and sharing the same kind of thing as Raid Kuma, where he deals 5 times the amount of damage you took last turn in int damage. And once again, what makes him unique is his special, which is actually unique to pretty much only Magellans in the game, where you inflict toxic poison to your enemies, which kind of works the same way as it does in Pokemon, where the damage exponentially grows over time and can deal up to 1.5 million damage a turn. Unfortunately it starts off at half his attack at the beginning, so it will take a lot of time, so it isn't feasible to just slap onto any team. You kind of have to build a team around it, which usually means making a zombie team. So obviously you can use this guy to clear a lot of content, but it will take you like 600 years. Plus there's a trend with newer content coming out that will have poison resistance, nullifying his special. But even so, I think he deserves a spot on this list just because his power is so unique. It's a kind of interesting way to clear out content, even if it takes ages. And his captain ability is pretty nice for int teams, though mono teams aren't very in meta right now. But if you do use him in zombie teams, cooldowns won't matter really, so you really can just get one copy of him. And he can help you quite a lot to zombie out forests, but obviously you do have to stall out much more turns, making it an even longer process than it normally is. It almost makes you feel like you're in prison. That was an awful joke. Kind of a situational character, but still very unique and powerful. At number 8 we have the only movie raid boss on this list, Zephyr, who is an int powerhouse shooter. His stats are pretty lopsided, having a whopping 3702 HP, a pretty decent 1252 attack, and a pretty bad 88 RCV. The reasons he's still on this list is pretty much why he was on the last list. He really helps you start an entire shooter team by himself, since his captain ability boosts the attack of shooter characters by 2.5 times, which is pretty rare, and then his special boosts the attack of shooter characters by 1.75 times for 2 turns, which is pretty amazing. This of course lets you pair him with characters like Stronghold Ace, as well as the new Boa Legend. He's kind of low on this list because of the lack of versatility. You pretty much can only use him on a shooter team. He has no use on anything else, unless you need a big buff boy for your int or powerhouse teams. Plus in the future, Stronghold Ace gets a 6+ form which changes his special and makes it so that he boosts the attack of shooters by ×2, making Zephyr a little obsolete. But on a positive note, he does get a limit break, which gives him a bunch of snazzy stuff, including boosting his captain ability, meaning it also gives you a 1.2 times HP boost and healing 300 HP at the end of the turn. Not too big of a change, but still pretty nice to have. A cornerstone of the free-to-play shooter teams, but might not so be useful in the future, as well as having no versatility. Up next on the list we have Enel, who is a quick driven striker. He has a pretty decent stat line with 2524 HP, 1470 attack, and a pretty strong 234 RCV. For once, both his captain ability and special have a lot of utility, with his special reducing your current HP by 90%, which obviously is awful in a lot of situations, but can be helpful if you need to lower your HP for any reason. Then it deals 20,000 fixed damage to all enemies, which again can be kind of useful. But the main reason to actually use his special is that it then boosts the attack of quick characters by ×2 for 1 turn. So ×2 attack boosts are still currently the golden standard in the game, so having one for free is really nice. Obviously it's only for quick characters, which is a shame, but otherwise it'd be too OP. Not to mention his really good captain ability, which boosts the attack of quick characters by 2.25 times, which is not too bad, but then recovers 5 times his RCV at the end of each turn in HP, making him a perfect unit to give your RCV cotton candy to, and those units are scarce. I mean, you're gonna run out of HP and attack cotton candy pretty fast, but that RCV cotton candy builds up quick, so it's nice to have someone to give it to. His captain ability of course makes your teams very tanky, meaning that you can go through a lot of content that isn't just strength units. Pair it up with the Moby Dick ship and you actually have quite a lot of HP to use as well. A really good captain ability and special, not to mention quite a decent amount of versatility considering that he only boosts quick characters, and now is still a very strong clash character. Up next we have Mihawk, who is the king for free-to-play players since he's so easy to get, is around every weekend, and his coffin boat is very easy to get now in the current meta. If you don't reroll for a legend, this guy is pretty much your best captain for quite a while. He's a deck slasher, which kinda sucks considering there's so many deck slashers, but his captain ability boosts the attack of slashes by 2.5 times, which again is very nice. His stats are pretty good with a mammoth 3760 HP, 1285 attack, and a pretty poor 15 RCV, which doesn't matter too much since the coffin boat means you pretty much have no healing anyway from meat orbs. His special is pretty straightforward and still pretty powerful in today's game, as it cuts the current HP of each enemy by 30%, which as the HP of every boss climbs, this even gets more powerful. But obviously with all the things you have to deal with in Colosseums and clashes, and can't fit him in onto your teams. That said, when you can fit him in, it's really nice since it can shave off like millions of HP. He's also another clash character that will be getting a limit break in the future, where he gives you another 1.3 times HP boost on top of the 2.5 times attack boost. He's a really strong character overall, and even his Neo version is arguably better since you get a free spirit classing as well, and the CD of his special is reduced by 1. However, he will eventually get outclassed by another free-to-play Mihawk, namely the Treasure Hawk one, which locks your chain to 2.75 times and then boosts ores by ×2, which is really good. It makes his 30% HP cut seem a little less good. That said, if you're new to the game, this guy really is a beast and will serve you well for a long time. Up next we have Boa Hancock, who is number 5 on this list, but the number 1 clash waifu, because it's pretty much between her and Ain. She is a Psy free spirit shooter with pretty decent stats with 2055 HP, 1378 attack, and 375 RCV. Her captain ability is the standard ×2×2, boosting the attack and HP of free spirit characters by ×2. Again, what puts her on the list is her special, which locks the chain multiplier to 2.5 times for 2 turns and then delays all enemies by 1 turn. Chain locks are still pretty new to the game, and there aren't that many great free-to-play versions, and Boa is probably the best on global right now, since not only is it 2.5 times, it's also for 2 turns. The delay on the special is also a nice little bonus and will also activate any conditional attack boosters that you have that require them to be delayed. She's just a really powerful unit overall, and in fact I'd probably take her over version 1 Boa Hancock Legend, since a 2-turn chain lock is way better than a 15 times RCV HP recovery. There's also a lot of content coming out that reduces your chain by a lot, so having it locked to 2.5 times is actually very useful in today's meta. I would definitely recommend farming her for your free spirit and shooter teams, and even if you don't have that, you can use her on other teams that need the chain lock as well. The only drawback really is that if you are using a version 2 Boa Hancock Legend, you can't obviously use her on your shooter team as well, but that's pretty minimal. Overall, she's still really strong.
Oh, こちらキザル。おお、到着しましたんで、応答願います。
Up next we have Kizaru, who is a quick fighter shooter. He also has a Neo form, which is a dex variation of this, but otherwise they're pretty much the same. His captain ability is pretty nice, reducing the cooldown of shooters by 2 turns at the start of the fight, as well as boosting the attack of shooters by 2.25 times and the HP by 1.5 times. I'd probably take Zeph's captain ability over this, but still it's pretty powerful. His stats are pretty nice with 2506 HP, a really strong 1410 attack, and a decent 277 RCV. His special is really powerful though, and was the main reason he gets so high on this list. Not only does it reduce the specials of shooters and fighters by 1 turn, but if you get it to stage 2, it adds 1.5 times to your chain multiplier for 2 turns, which is actually a quite big attack boost. So not only does his special let you reduce cooldowns, meaning that you have to stall less turns and hopefully take less damage, the 1.5 times boost to the chain is actually pretty powerful, and any boost to damage that isn't just straight up from a type boost or all boost is actually pretty useful and kind of rare. Though the cooldown reduction is restricted to shooter and fighter characters, the chain multiplier is not, meaning that he's still very versatile on other teams if you need it. He will also be getting a limit break in the future, changing his special to boosting the attack of shooters by 2.35 times, which is a very strange number, and also reducing specials at the beginning of the fight by 3 turns, which is really good. Overall, just a really strong character that you'll see a lot of uses on your shooter and fighter teams and beyond. At number 3 we have Sabo, who is a dex free spirit fighter. There is also a Neo form, which is Sai, and again is slightly better in terms of stats. His regular form does have pretty decent stats normally anyway, with 2484 HP, 1325 attack and 340 RCV. His captain ability is actually pretty strong, boosting the attack of free spirit characters by 3.5 times following a chain of good, great and perfect hits, which is a mini version of Log Luffy but only for free spirit characters. That said, the damage output for a free to play captain is still pretty high. But why he's so high up on this list is that his special is really unique and powerful, as it adds 55 times his attack as additional typeless damage to all your attacks for 2 turns. This is like an additional 700,000 damage to your total if you give him 100 attack cotton candy, which is pretty worth it in my opinion, and is one of the few rare clash characters that I would say is worth giving cotton candy to. This is a really rare effect in the game, and I think only Inuarashi the legend has it as well, though his boost is slightly higher. But not even Inuarashi's special lasts 2 turns, which Sabo's does, and of course stacks with your normal type boosting or boosting and any other conditional attack boosts you may have. It's also very useful in situations where say the enemy will lower your attack but have very low HP themselves, since his special won't be affected by that. And it's very nice for zombie teams, since normally on zombie teams it's all about the utility of their specials and they won't be sharing classes, so his attack boost regardless of type and class is very nice in helping you speed up the process. Overall, a really beastly unit that you'll see use for a very long time. At number 2 we have the original top dog of the old list, Flamingo. Flamingo is a dex-driven slasher who has 2311 HP, 255 RCV, and a crazy 1500 attack, which for a long time was the highest attack in the game. His captain ability is Stand Fair, boosting the attack and HP of slasher characters by ×2, but his godly special is why he's still so high on the list even though he's such an old clash as he lets you switch between your orbs twice and then amplifies the effect of orbs by ×2 for 1 turn. Still to this day, even after a year, ×2 orb boosts are still amazing. Like for instance, there's still no ×2 orb booster for shooters, and many orb boosters that are ×2 are class restricted and have negative effects paired with them. Even new clashes only boost orbs by 1.75 times, such as Bellamy and Virgo. So not only does Doflamingo boost orbs by ×2, there's no class or type restriction on it, so even if Doflamingo doesn't get the attack boost from your captains, sometimes he even does more damage than just having a 1.75 times orb booster that does. Letting you switch between orbs is also really handy in a lot of situations. He's just a monster of a unit after all this time, and his newer version is just as strong. One of the few units that could outclass him is Invasion Cavendish, which boosts the orbs of slashes by 2.25 times, but that's only if your team is above 50% HP and only works for slashes. The only orb booster that I would say is just overall better than this Doflamingo is Legend Doflamingo, so he really is the pinnacle of free-to-play units.
いい船だな。盗んだ船さ。家を焼かれて俺はここに住んどる。そうか。名前はレイリー。
And at number 1 we have Young Railay, who is a global exclusive clash at the moment, which is actually pretty crazy that we got something before Japan and they still don't have it. Railay is a strength cerebral slasher with pretty decent stats with 2510 HP, 1315 attack and 353 RCV. His captain ability is actually pretty damn strong, boosting the attack of slasher and cerebral characters by 2.5 times and then recovering double his RCV in HP at the end of each turn. 2.5 times attack boost for clash characters is already pretty rare, but he does it for 2 classes. Though one of the classes is slasher, meaning that it kind of overlaps with Mihawk, so it's not as great as it would be with something else. That said, it does allow you a bit more team building versatility, since you can use a cerebral slasher team if you're using him as a captain. The healing at the end of each turn is not all that high, but it's a pretty nice bonus to have as well. Probably not worth giving RCV Cotton Candy to, since unlike Anel, who is ×5 his RCV, this is only ×2. But you know, if you're flooded with cotton candy, then maybe use it on him, but I'd say it's not worth it most of the time. But what makes him so good in my opinion is his special, which randomizes all non-matching orbs and then boosts the attack of all characters by 1.75 times. A true rainbow boost. That actually is so rare in this game, and the fact that it's at a 1.7 times as well is really amazing. Now granted, most of the time you're going to be using a class-based team, so you'll just have an attack booster for that specific class. So rainbow boosters aren't all that necessary, but if you have say a legend Blackbeard or Whitebeard team, this guy is really good for those. He's pretty decent for zombie teams if you can fit him in. He can of course be used for cerebral slasher and strength teams as the attack booster, and he's probably the best free to play option for those teams. And in terms of everyday use, you can use him with your Neptunes or Peronas when beating Fortnites and getting that sweet ×1.5 EXP. Though in practice I don't think he's going to be the most used clash unit, objectively I think he's probably the most powerful overall in terms of captain ability and special. Or if you want, you can just use him to socket other Raylays. Well, that's it for this video. If you think I missed out a clash character that should have been on this list, post it in the comments down below. Join the Discord if you like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, my Nakama!